welcome to People Are Everything, the show that's a bit like Desert Island Discs, but rather than bring music, I asked my guests to bring the 5 people that have shaped the person they are. And as the sun is still shining, is still summer bonus season. So this is the last of the kind of compilations. Next week, I'm actually going to be introducing season 3. We are due to put that out on September the 9th. It's already pre-recorded, which is very exciting. So I can share with you quite a few, excerpts, if you like, for what's to come. But in the meantime, here's another and final for the summer list of people's firsts. And again, this time it's a little bit more random. You can expect a smattering of mothers and fathers, but there's also a guy called Toby Hatt. All will be revealed in this next set of sequences. And again, like before, I'm going to be popping up in between and sort of sharing a little bit of thoughts and setup. So sit back and enjoy. These are the 5 firsts from season 2 and the final one of these compilations before we launch season 3. Enjoy. So first up, we have Jess Gregson. I love this conversation. Jess is one of those rare breeds of people who are very sincere. She's extremely good at what she does. And a true professional, I'd say. But also when you come to hear her stories, the people she shared were, an Uber driver that gave her some advice that she kept with her always. Toby Hatt, as I mentioned in the introduction. So Toby, I think, is a real person. But what I came to learn is that it's more that he represented a time in her life. So enjoy this. A very, very random first. Toby Hatt from Jess Gregson. All right, well, listen, let's get into number 1 then. Who's number 1?
So number 1 is someone whose surname I don't even know. But if any of my friends listen to this, it will make them chuckle. It's a person who we all knew as Toby Hatt.
Toby Hatt.
And Toby Hatt was called Toby Hatt because we used to see him every Friday at the club we went to, nightclub we went to, and he'd be on a podium dancing, and he'd always wear some sort of noticeable hat, like a kind of rave days Jamiroquai kind of guy.
Okay, gotcha.
But less cool and without necessarily the same moves. But Toby Hatt I'm using to kind of represent, and he just came to mind when I was thinking about a really influential period of my life. Toby Hatt I'm using to represent kind of everybody who I met during my sort of early clubbing days, and and specifically that being kind of early house music, dance music, when clubbing was a real scene. And there's lots of things I could say about that. There's some very specific things that I kind of wanted to say about the people I met in that period and the kind of impact it had on me. So Toby Hatt is number 1, and I can tell you more about those people that he represents. I told you.
Oh, absolutely. I really want to know. I mean, I'm from that. I think we're roughly the same age, aren't we? I spent most of my youth because I was in a band, so I was always going to live music venues.
Right.
So I spent most of my youth there, or maybe in festivals and stuff like that. But I love dancing, Jess. Honestly, I love like clubs and dance music and just letting yourself go and just dancing till, I don't know, you can't do it anymore. And, every now and then, if there's a wedding or any excuse, I mean, it's embarrassing probably for everybody, but I don't care. I just love to dance. So I do want to know more about this. So was it a big group of you that used to go?
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of part of it, really. It started off being actually some friends that I'd met at college who are still incredibly dear friends now. But it ended up being a big group of people who are people who have always been my closest friends since that time. Because our group of friends sort of randomly collected another group of friends, and then we all kind of collected each other, and they've become people who are, some of the most important people in my life. You see, I could cry now. This is probably what I was going to talk about. But I think there was a few things around that time. I think, and I'm sure there's a thing where everyone at every age thinks that the bit they went through was like the best bit.
Yeah,
I definitely feel like there was a real sense of sort of togetherness and camaraderie at that time. And I think for me, the reason that it was so influential is, I mean, loads of reasons. One, that it felt very much like a kind of group of people who were part of a tribe. And actually, I'd never really felt like that before. That has into football, but just that sense of sort of we're doing something together, and it's got an importance other than just we're going dancing. It felt like it was part of a sort of cultural thing. But I think it's also, up until a certain time in your life, a lot of the people that you end up being friends with, they're kind of, and this is nothing against, I've got, still got friends from school and all those other things, but they're sort of, they're friends who are kind of, you've ended up becoming friends with because they're part of the institutions around you, whether that be your neighborhood or whether that be the school you went to, or whether that be the fact your parents were friends. And actually, I think there was kind of, I don't know, like this idea of suddenly meeting people who were connected by something cultural, rather than being imposed or logical like all the other people I'd met. It was a different community and but it had an incredibly strong, rich sense of community. And it was very, very open. People wanted to meet each other. People wanted to find out each other. And people kind of were, I mean, I throw this word around quite a lot, actually. I think people just wanted to love each other. Yeah, they really did. They wanted to make friendships. They wanted to smile with people. And I really kind of, I think it made me a very open person emotionally. See, I could go into
there you go.
But that's kind of that's why I wanted to talk about Toby Hatt, because that kind of period was, I think, quite formative for me in how I am and how I treat people and how I approach friendships, which is probably all too like excited puppy.
Oh, I can relate completely. Yeah. I'm still that now, and I know you are too. Well, Toby Hatt, he's sort of like your emblem, isn't he? He's your sort of poster boy for that period.
He was always there. He was always there. He was always on the podium. We'd get there, we'd like, Toby Hatt's here. It's all like, we know what's going on. We're all good.
And I hope when you share this podcast with that group, they're all, like you say, they're chuckling. But I do also want to say a couple of points about that. I mean, I do know what you mean. When you are your school friends or any kind of institutional wraparound, like early work friends, for example, I'm still friends with a lot of people from work and from school. And you're kind of thrust together and you spend a lot of time together. So there is a sort of a natural kind of framework for it. So my sort of equivalent would be my music, the music scene. It's very similar. You kind of follow the same bands, you get into the same thing. You like, it's a like-minded thing, and it's a chosen thing rather than a I don't know, not enforced. That's too strong a word, but you know what I mean. It's like you've gone out and found your tribe, and I love that. And the friendships you make in your 20s, I don't know about you, but they seem to be the ones that endure. Yeah, completely. And I said in an earlier podcast that it adds such a richness to your life if you have people who've known you for a long, long time. Because you don't have to fill any gaps. They just get you immediately and you can pick up where you left off. So sounds like you've got a great gang of those. You have cheated, by the way, because you took Toby Hatt, who you don't know, and then you probably put in about 20 people there, haven't you?
Yeah, this was the problem. I started thinking a million stories and moments about all those people in our, in the last 20 odd years that I've known them, but then I'll miss someone out. And actually, I think it was kind of both the individuals and then the kind of, like you say, the sort of the wrapper, the culture around what made those individuals come together, how they felt, the influence on each other, and that shared sense of sort of something happening. I think,
and something happening important
on all of them was just an openness and a kind of a candor and a kind of sort of elevated some of those friendships very quickly. And they're the people now, and I'm sure you have this in spaces of you don't have to see each other all the time, but just 10 seconds and it's all exactly the same. And I think they're incredibly valuable friendships.
But also, I just want to say something about the era. Excuse me, that era. I mean, you're right. Most people will say this era was their youth. The era of their youth is always the best, right? So everyone loves. I'm an 80s girl, so you'll never ever stop me thinking that Duran Duran and Spandau and all that were the best bands in history, which of course they perhaps were not, but to me they were. And I think when if you're into house music and you were into that club scene, you probably felt you were on the cusp of something really important, a big change in music and a cultural shift, and that would have been really exciting for you all as well. So I'm kind of jealous. No, I'm not. I was playing in bands. I was doing my own cool jazz.
I was going to say, yeah, I was all right. That's also very cool and has a similar sense of why you feel connected to people and then the influence that those people have on you because of that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, well, there you go. I love the sound of that. The lovely Jess there talking about Toby. Told you it was random. All right, so next we have Helen Normoyle. Well, we are just friends now. That's just how it is. Sometimes you meet people in life and you just make an instant connection. And Helen is now firmly in my life. And yeah, I guess we couldn't be more different. I think her background sounds extremely, I don't know, the kind of quintessential family environment. And, she credits a lot of that to her mother. Although she does talk about being a daddy's girl, it's mum that made the number one spot. And as you'll come to hear, you'll see why. She sounds absolutely amazing. And I have total mum envy. So sit back and enjoy Helen talking about her mum. Who's number one then? Who's made the number one spot?
So the number one spot is framed in my family. I grew up in a small village in County Limerick in Ireland. And, I've had the good fortune to have had a great grounding through my family, through my parents, my siblings and my grandparents. So my grandparents lived with us. And so I have two brothers and a sister, my parents and my grandparents. We all, lived in the same house. My granddad died in 1974, so when I was around 6 or 7. But I still have vivid memories of him. He was just the most wonderful man. And my grandmother lived till 1996, so she was 95, I think, when she passed away. And so the reason I say this is these were important people in my life. And even though I was quite young when my granddad died, he's been an important and still is an important figure in my life. And that love that I have for my family still endures, and we're still really close. But if I was to pick one person in my family, and I am a daddy's girl, Julia, and I know that. But as I look back and reflect on my life, it would be my mother. Okay. And my appreciation from my mum has only grown as I've gotten older. Because I think I look back now and I can see how much of my drive, my curiosity, and my desire for education and to travel, she helped me with that, and she just supported me. Education was always hugely important for my mother. She was determined, that my sister and I would have a good and my brothers clearly as well. But, as girls growing up in the 70s, she was really clear. She wanted us to have a great education. She wanted us to have the opportunity to go to university. She did everything she could, to support all of us, to enable us to do that. And she just had this unconditional love for us and belief in us. So it never, ever crossed my mind that I would do anything other than go to university, even though very few of my relatives had gone to university or done anything like that. Both my parents are, they didn't unfortunately have the opportunities to stay on in school and to have further education. But they're hugely intelligent, really well read. And so we always discuss current affairs, politics, and I'm a politics junkie and a current affairs junkie still. We had the best conversations at home with my siblings as well. But if I look back, I can just see just how much of a supporter my mother was for me growing up. And she is just such a great source of common sense and support, and she's got some brilliant insights in life. One of her sayings that I really like is, a shroud has no pockets. She's not a materialistic person at all. And a few months ago we were chatting, and she'd had a little bit of a health scare, and thankfully she's doing really well now. And we just chatted about life and about death, and she said, Helen, we're born, we come into this earth with nothing, and we die, we leave this earth with nothing. And what really matters is what happens in between and with people and the people in our lives. And that's really what matters most. And she's a kind, loving person. And everyone who's met my mother, I think, would say that about her. She's just so thoughtful and considerate. And she just puts other people first all the time, and so we all, we work to make sure she puts herself first as well. But as I say, sometimes, Julie, when you're growing up, you see this and you don't appreciate it because you take it for granted. And I wish I'd been a nicer teenager now, but, I can't change the past, but I can be the best daughter I can be now, to her and my father as well, who's wonderful. But as I say, and I love them both dearly, and I am a daddy's girl, but my mom is really, she's just one of these amazingly lovely people that you meet in life.
Oh, amazing. All right. Helen, I'm going to edit this next bit out, but I do need to get this dog in, and then I'm going to pick up on everything we just said. So hold on. What an annoying little monkey she is. Come on then. Honestly. She's so naughty.
Well, she knows what she wants.
There she is. Can you see her?
Yeah, she's gorgeous.
She is. She won't leave me alone. Listening to you talk about your mum, I don't know. I think it's something that we all want, isn't it? To be spoken of like that, for someone to summarize, no matter what the relationship or at what stage of life, to be told or to be spoken of someone who's kind and warm and generous and selfless and has given you unconditional love and invested in you and talked to you about the world and showed you all the possibilities and invested in you and, believed in you as well. Like I say, for sending you to university, etc. I don't know. It's so aspirational for me. I want to be that person. I feel like there's like a little, I don't know what it is, like everything I'm doing, I have a little bit of an afterglow in it of is this, am I doing this right? Am I living well? Am I doing good into the world? I'm only here for a short while. Like your mum said, I'll leave with nothing. Am I going to make an impact? Are people going to talk nicely about me when I'm not here? Will I leave any kind of legacy? And I don't mean that in any kind of arrogance. It's not, I want these things or I need these things to be, to feel valuable or whatever. It's genuinely what I want to achieve and spend my time and energy and money on doing. So, for you to have that in your home as your actual mum who gave you all those things, and I've got mum envy anyway. Of everybody who talks about their mums, I'm like, oh, that sounds nice. I wish I had one of those. It's sort of bittersweet for me. I hear it and I love it. I love how you talked about her just now. And I love the little nod to your dad as well. Like, I'm a daddy's girl, but it's really all about my mum. As a mum, I really like that too. I like the idea that, because I know my daughter, for example, total daddy's girl, just all about her dad. But I'd like to think there's a sort of sacred space for me somewhere, that one day when she's older, she'll say, I didn't really appreciate you at the time, Mum, but I really do now. So I really like that. And the fact that she's number one, I like that too. So good. And what's her name? Can I ask?
Brenda.
Does she know all this? Have you ever sort of said all those things to her?
No, later in life, I started saying to my parents, I love you. It wasn't something we'd necessarily say at home, but I say to I have two boys, my husband, like 1,000,001 times a day. And I started saying it to my parents in my 20s when I was living in Germany and, saw them less often and there weren't mobile phones back in the day. And I realized it was really important. And I do say to her and my dad after every call, because I love them to bits. I really do. But I don't know if, Julie, to be honest, she hasn't heard me speak like this or say just how much I respect and admire her. She was her 80th birthday a few weeks ago. And I did say that about how much we all, and she all she ever wanted. I mean, she just wanted her kids and her grandkids. And my aunt and uncle were there as well. And Margaret, her neighbour and best friend from across the road. And that's all my mother wanted. And she was just really happy. And we were all there to honour her. So I did. And as the eldest in the family, I was called upon to say a few words spontaneously. And so I did share some of that. And I know it meant a lot to her. But I might play her a clip of this podcast. But I will have to say, that's why I say to my father, I know I'm a daddy's girl, Dad. I love you to bits. I'm just singing, Mum. And this one.
But he'd probably agree. He'd say, of course.
Yes, he does. He knows, and he knows. He knows how lucky he is, and they're good for each other. They're really couple together. They've been together a lot of time now, obviously.
I love that, and I've got such a warm feeling about you all growing up in the same house. I mean, I bet it was I know I'm envisaging now a place of, like you say, great conversation, world events, current affairs, everything like that. The sort of conversation around the dinner table. You don't see so much of it.
Julia.
Oh, I love that though.
Fiery in my family, so, so it's not all peace and harmony and very.
No, but that's all part of it as well. It's like this modern world where everyone's sitting in front of their phones at dinner.
Yeah.
I personally really don't like that. I do it. You will catch me doing that now and then. But generally, if I've got a human being in front of me, I really want to talk to them because that's just they've got my attention and I'd like to know them. But generally speaking, I think the young people now, they don't get that dinner table arguing, debating, taking a topic and really getting into it. I imagine that's quite rare now with this all the technology that we all are addicted to, frankly. So
yeah, look, that actually is an important point. Maybe you want to come back to later. How instead of bringing us together, technologies, I think, making us more isolated from each other. But also that I think it's leading us to a place where we don't debate in the way I don't think we debate in the way we used to. And I think debate is healthy. And I think having disagreements is healthy. And listening to another point of view and maybe shifting your opinion is healthy. I do think that it's leading to some of the challenges we're seeing in the world today is the lack of a public square where we all genuinely come together and engage with each other respectfully. But that doesn't mean we will agree on everything, but we can still like each other and not agree on things, So, yes, I do think technology is playing a role in that as well.
Oh, well, it's algorithm led and it's there to sort of push an agenda and then get us all outraged. We're all addicted to outrage, actually, Helen, if you think about it.
Yeah.
What gets our attention more? I don't really do social media for that reason. I don't seem to have an off switch. I know when to stop eating a bar of chocolate or, finish after 2 drinks. I can manage myself in that way. But when it comes to sort of scrolling and reading things, it's a weak spot of mine. I find myself going into the comments, seeing all kinds of terribleness and being really triggered by it, but somehow can't take my eyes off it. And they know that, the clever bods that put all this stuff together. And I agree, it's completely polarizing. And funny you should say about debating. I had a feisty, is that the right? Fiery, I think is the word you used. I had a fiery debate only yesterday with somebody who has a completely opposite view of me than me on a subject. And I just loved it. I mean, we were really going at it. He had his view, I had my view. We didn't agree, but we did change position, actually. I felt that a few points he made were definitely worth me re-looking at something. I may have been guilty of looking at the headline and not the detail. And he definitely learned something from me about a lived experience of something that he was talking about and being maybe just, in my opinion, a little bit judgmental about certain things. And I gave him a point of view that he couldn't possibly have experienced. It did catch his attention, but it was healthy and it was fiery. It was 2 people completely at opposite ends of a belief. And I came away very energized. I enjoyed it, and so did he. I checked in afterwards and said, "Was that all right for you?" He said, "I loved it. It was great." So quite what people watching would have thought. They might have thought we were having a right set to, but I personally really enjoy it. I like a little bit of verbal conflict and disagreement. I think it's extremely healthy. So can I join your family, Helen?
Yes, you know where to find me if you want.
I've got to go to Limerick.
Absolutely. You go to Limerick, you can come to Limerick.
Okay, quite far, but I'll see what I can do. Great. Well, I love the sound of Brenda. I'm so glad she's got the top spot, and I'm so glad she's just turned 80, and she's going to get to hear this as a second round of that celebration of her. Well, I hope you're listening to that and also having mum envy. She sounds amazing, and yes, lovely to hear Helen's voice again. So that was Helen. And next we have Adam. Adam I met through sort of a random set of circumstances. And it's not often you meet someone who's right at the centre of world news. And, well, if you listen to the whole podcast from Adam, you'll know that he was on the 62nd floor of the second tower on 9/11. And he was only in his early 20s and he had to find his way out. And of course, that's a defining moment in anyone's life. And it could have gone either way. But thankfully for Adam and his family, it turned him into a really just wonderful, wonderful man. And he credits a lot of that to his dad. And I mean, I've done some pretty decent presents in my life. But Adam has arranged for a beer to be made. Not a can of beer with a label on that he bought from the shop, but actually I don't know what you call it, a run-off, a cask of, anyway, a small production of actual beer that he's dedicated to his dad and has a picture written on the front. So, yeah, it's kind of the measure of him, and it's no surprise at all that he's put his dad as his number one choice. Who is number one?
In no particular order. I have to preface that, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to start with my father.
Okay.
Mine may be stereotypical, but I think what you'll hopefully get is there's an underlying unique narrative to all of it. But my dad, like my dad was raised in a household with his father who left school at 8th grade, grew up in the Great Depression, served in World War II, right? Like just, like that. Like raised in a household of the greatest generation, and so many things that came from my grandfather to my dad, were passed to me. And like, there's certain things he has said over the years, right? Sports were really important in my life growing up for a lot of reasons. He played sports and as a young kid, right? Like never would I ask, can you go throw me pitches? Can you play catch? Would he ever say no? Ever. Right. Like, and I know that sounds so simple, but right. Like in the world we live in now, that is not common.
No.
And, like there's something he would always tell me that still sticks to this day is like, if you're going to do something, you do it right. Right. No matter what it is, whether you're painting your room or, washing your car or doing your actual job or whatever it is, like you do it the right way. Like that's just how you show up in life. And like those are things that are hard for me to express, right? Because like my parents now live, I lived out west for 13 years and we came home because of them, right? And I really started asking later, like how many summers? And what I meant was like, how many summers did I have left? How many summers did they have left? How many summers would I get to spend with those people? And they live 4 minutes away, right? My son had his birthday parties with his friends, and my parents made all the cookies for the party. And my son we have a baseball game tonight, and they're gonna be there. And he set up a little hitting thing in the garage for my boys to hit off the tee, and he can work with them. Like there are a few things that make me happier in my life than having that. And it's like it's hard to express the gratitude to the story I want to tell real quick, because like we were at a charity event with friend for the Ronald McDonald House, which is like it's it's a large U.S. charity, and it like they're around hospitals, and what they do is put up people who can't afford, and they help get them. So we were at the event, and our friends own a brewing company, and one of the auction items at the live auction is you get to be a brewer for a day. And so we were there like 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, and my wife's like, "We're gonna win this," and I'm like, "Okay, yeah." And we win it, right? And we had like, I'm going somewhere with this, I swear, but it wasn't just about winning it, and wasn't it just about the beer? It was like what I wanted to do with it. And it was kind of what you expressed a little bit earlier, like what to do with money.
Yeah.
It wasn't crazy, but it like what I wanted to do was I'm gonna go brew this. It'll sit on tap at the brewery down the road, which we go to all the time, and our friends, and it's wonderful. It'll sit on tap, and all the proceeds go to the Ronald McDonald House that they sell for the entire year. But it's what it is. Like I had already known the minute we won it, I wanted to name it after my dad. So I'm naming the beer after him. He will be on the label. And I'm going to express this label real quick. He'd probably be mad, but because we're telling him for Father's Day, but it's named after him, and it's him. He used to get off work because he worked in the summers. They were teachers, so he'd work all summer, cutting grass, mowing lawns, doing all these things, and he'd get home. And I worked with him when I was growing up, and he'd be all dirty, right, coming in, throw his clothes off, and he would sit in like a white T-shirt and his underwear, and he would have a beer. And he would get the records out, and he would like, my love for music is him. And that's the picture I want, is him like in his ball cap with his mustache, sitting at that table on a pair and just talking about music. And it's like, that's like my thank you. I don't know if it's a weird thank you, but like that is
It's a great idea. Sorry, I was cutting across.
And that's it, right? Like that's him, and that's who I am.
That's like such a quintessential image. I mean, honestly, that's like the perfect image of if I may say, an American dad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I watched enough movies to have that image, you know. And there's a couple of things there. First of all, well done having a friend with a brewery. Like that's like my dream friend. Anybody out there with a brewery, I'd really like to be friends with you, please. So that's awesome. And I suppose, you know, hearing how you talk about him, I imagine then that he's a huge influence on how you want to be as a dad. So do you find yourself thinking about him in your day-to-day dad stuff?
Yeah, every day. We lived out west for 13 years. I used to travel a lot for work. You know, I was on the road 38 to 42 weeks a year. My wife was doing her residency. We didn't have kids yet. And I remember like I'd be in the airport and I would call like, I mean, for most of my life, like I would call him 3-4 times a week. He'd be like, "Where are you? Like, what airport are you in, or what city?" And you talk about Cleveland sports or just catch up or whatever it is. And like the unique piece of that is the fact that I'm going to be 46 here in a few months, and I still have that type of a relationship. Yeah. Right. Like, and that's my favorite thing. And all the other stuff, right? Seeing him every day, and I give him punch lists, and he, you know, does stuff around my house, blah, 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 just, you know, keeps him busy. But it's like, if I have that with my kids,
yeah, you'll be made up.
Like something went right.
Yeah.
I don't have that without him.
Yeah. And him and his father before him. And yeah, I mean, it's such this idea of modeling. You know, you either go one or the other, don't you? You either absolutely look backwards against your predecessors and say, if I can only be as good as them, I'll be happy. You know, if I can only have their qualities or bring what they taught me into my parenting. And then there's those who go, whatever he did, I'm not doing that. You know what I mean? Rejecting completely. And I just feel like there is still a pressure. There's still a fallout with having a dad like that. It builds a certain pressure on you to kind of be a certain way and achieve a certain amount of things. But I think, you know, as opposed to having a dad that you absolutely kick against, which must take extraordinary amounts of energy, And I say it like it hadn't happened to me. I was that kid, actually. I kicked against my dad quite a lot. But it's like, so much more wholesome, so much more rewarding and enriching if it's the first one. And the idea of summers, I think we've talked about this, or I certainly talk about summers, and how I tend to count them. Until I met Nancy Berger. I don't know if you heard the podcast I did I did Just Press Record with Matt Ziegler and Nancy Berger. And she told me off for that. She said, no more counting summers. So I'm going to pass this on to you, Adam. She was like, it just can take away a little bit of the fun of the moment if you keep thinking about the clock counting down. So I'm trying hard not to do it. But I'm with you. I'm mid-50s now, and I look at my life and I go, how many summers have I got left? Okay, count them up. And that's like, none of us know anyway, so it's a pointless exercise. But also, it does sometimes dampen the mood when I go, oh, then in 10 years now I'll be 65 and my legs probably will hurt a bit. And, it's like, well, live now. Now is good. Yeah. This, that's the Nancy's message was, stop counting the summers. So have a think about that, Adam. Nancy, if you're listening, I'm passing it on.
That's funny. I was like, you would not approve of the 4K weeks I have right back here that measures my weeks and years. And it's a little black dot for each week.
Gosh. Okay, that's taking it to a whole new level, Adam.
Well, and I think I'm the opposite. I think if anything, I'm comfortable with it. I love stoicism. I wear a memento mori around my neck every day, right? And for me, it's a little different because I think, coming back to that example on 9/11, right? Like, you're at the precipice. I'm not saying I was, because there's so many other terrible stories, right, that came out of that. And that's the one I always struggle with but like there is another side. Like we can sometimes get caught in the languishing of the trap where we do forget, right? Like none of this is guaranteed.
I know. Do you know what? I'm so glad you brought it around to that. So Nancy, forget it. I'm not listening to you anymore. So Adam and I have got it worked out. We know that the best bit about counting the summers is it makes you very purposeful. It makes you very intentional. It says, let's not be sleeping at the wheel here of life. Let's go at it, knowing that it's going to run out. And I'm learning about the Stoics. I'm very undereducated, which I love telling everybody about. Maybe I should stop. But I didn't really do a lot of formal education, but I'm a lifelong learner. And the Stoics, I was listening to a podcast by Sam Harris. Do you know Sam Harris?
Yeah.
And he just did a whole episode on the Stoics, and that was really interesting. So I probably am more cut from that cloth as well, Adam. I think it's important to kind of, it's a way of honoring time and being realistic and practical about it as well. So
it's there's a quote that's attributed to the Buddha, but like the trouble is you think you have time.
Yeah, and we're just a blink in the eye blink of. Oh, well, you get my point. So okay, well that's Dad. He sounds absolutely brilliant. I imagine he's got, I don't know, I've got this vision of him now in a scruffy sort of, hat and having big forearms. I don't know why. Has he got big forearms?
Well, I mean, he would tell you. He tells my son. He tells my youngest, and my youngest yells at him all the time. He's like, he played baseball. My dad played baseball in college, and he says, like, I was scouted by the Yankees. And then he says, he tells my youngest I played for the Yankees, and my 7-year-old's, no, you didn't. You didn't. It's very like you. It's funny you say that, right? Like, because he's older now. He's 73, but the picture on that beer can or image, right, is that guy who is probably close to my age, right? I just see, right? And it will always be the image in my head.
Yeah, good for you. I like it. Send me a bottle of the beer. Well, that was the lovely Adam talking about his dad. That was so heartwarming. Anyway, I'm bringing myself back to reality. And next we have Lindsay Francis. And, if you do go back to listen to Lindsay's episode, what can I say? I mean, a real eminent person, somebody who really knows her craft. She specializes in sort of supporting high functioning people and she has this kind of blend of sort of ancient wisdom with high tech kind of latest thinking. And the combination, I'm sure, is extremely powerful. And it's that combination that I think is interesting about how she talks about her first choice, which is her mother. Because it's that blend of strength and resilience and determination. And also you'll hear things like how she always felt their home was very, warm and welcoming, and there was always food on the go and things like that. So it has this kind of real dynamic between, strength and softness. So I really enjoyed this. I enjoyed hearing her talk about her mum. So yeah, this is Lindsay Francis talking about her mum.
So the person I'm going to start talking about first of all is my mum. So
good.
For me to do that, I will carry on why I chose her. We all have a mother, of course, and some of us have present mothers and some of us don't. Some of us have encouraging mothers and some of us don't. And then some of us become mothers, and again, some don't. But I think we're always mothering somewhere along the line. And I think it's quite interesting to see how we serve people in that sort of maternal and feminine capacity. My mum is an incredibly organised person, and she comes from a long line of women who were absolute survivors. I was very close to my grandmother on my maternal side, and I also knew my great-grandmother, and they were tough cookies. I've learnt a lot. I've watched resilience. I've watched determination. I've watched an ability to batten down and battle on. And I've learned a lot from that, and I appreciate that maternal line. I've also been fortunate to have done quite a lot of family constellation work with other therapists. So I see how that's been handed down to me. And I also see the flip side of being a woman who's capable and perhaps sometimes unable to let people in. And I always laugh when I come and talk about control and boundaries with clients. And we talk about the sort of, I can do it, I can manage, I'm perfectly capable, thank you. Well, of course we are as women, and it's great. It's a great characteristic. But there has to be a soft side where we say, please, can you help me? I please receive your help, your love and your affection. And I have lots of conversations with men and women about their own relationships and their own physical desires. And are we actually able to let people into that inner space? Or is it a transactional experience? Or is it a sort of uncomfortable is it, this should be a joyful interaction. Anybody that's read Michael Singer's beautiful, beautiful book, now I've just said that, the name has gone out of my head, Open-Hearted, anyway, it's an amazing book. It's about that being open-hearted. So mother has taught me to be very resilient, very organised. She does think that my house is a bit of a tip because she's far more particular and house proud than I am. But she's somebody where there's always enough food, there's always clean linen. And it was really in contrast to some other people's experiences, of course. It was a lovely, clean, welcoming home where we were provided for and cared for and loved. And she learnt that from her maternal side. And yeah, I've learnt a lot from her, and I appreciate everything that she's done. And of course, nobody's perfect. But she's been a huge influence on my life and continues. I'm very lucky I still have both my parents. They're both still married. They model marriage in a way that makes me laugh. Now I've also been married over 20 years. So yes, it's an interesting game to watch.
Oh, marvellous. I've got proper mum envy now. I mean, that's extraordinary. I think if you have that as a grounding and a modelling, that's such a wonderful starting point for life, really. And I'm sure there are things that you do that are uniquely you, and you're just the next vanguard of this family. And you're taking forward those generations of women with you, but there's going to be, uniquely Lindsay things there too. But to be able to kind of recognise and see already how clearly she's influenced you, I think that's really, really wonderful, actually. And I can't relate to any of it, Lindsay, as you know, because you've started to read my book, and I'm thinking, wow, what must that be like? And how is your relationship day to day? And what does she occupy now that you're in different stages of life? Is it do you still learn from her, lean on her? Do you still ask her advice? Is it just will you just go around when you're feeling you need a little boost? What does it look like now? I'm just curious.
That's a really great question, Julia, because I've done an enormous amount of work on myself. So it isn't helpful to anybody to sit here and say, and the bad bits were, la, 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 because nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
There are pieces of the relationship that I had with my mother I won't take forward with my own children, which is a beautiful, beautiful recognition of being uniquely you.
Yeah.
What does it look like day to day? I think there's a moment, and I think it happens at about 45, where you suddenly realise that your parents aren't invincible and that you're an adult. And there's a big shift from this child adult or child parent to adult. You're still the child and they're still the parent. But I'm noticing this a lot with the work that I do, where there is a moment where you realise you are going to be the one who's responsible. And there's a grieving, I think, a little bit, or maybe it's a maturity moment where people realise, oh, I am actually on my own. If they've had their parents, of course.
Yeah.
And I think it's a very different experience. But I'm beginning to notice, especially with people who've got teenage children and aging parents, that they suddenly realise that the buck actually stops. And it's a real moment where they think, either this is way too much responsibility, or I'm completely overwhelmed and I can't cope, or I'm really going to pull my socks up and I'm going to go out and get the professional support I need to be able to unpick this. So on a day-to-day basis, we are in a transition now where, of course, I'm older and they're older. There's a wisdom to the relationship. And there's also a grace where I am able to say to them now, because of the journey I've been on myself, thank you so much for what you've done. Thank you for giving me the things you've given me, doing the things you've done for me, and continuing to do what you do, even though, Julia, they don't approve of all my choices. And
That's their job.
that is their job. But it's to me, of course, I've got 2 children, to know that it's okay not to approve of their choices. And when they say, what do you think? I say, well, it wouldn't be for me, but it's absolutely great for you.
Yeah.
It's a real sign of emotional maturity. And I know I've heard you in your podcast talk before about being able to do that. It's a real skill. Because what's right for you, Julia, isn't right for me. What's right for me isn't right for you. But you've got to go inside to find that.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Isn't it weird that we, just when we're peaking ourselves in terms of performance, wisdom, experience, and energetically, that we're caught between those 2 responsibilities? You know, midlife, maybe that's why people have midlife crises. It's because you just start learning who you are. You just start revving up, getting ready to be your absolute fullest best self. And, you know, the reality of being, you know, caregiver still to and adult children, you know, they're if anything more complex than children, because they're still your child even if they're in their 20s. But you're having to kind of help them in their own independence and help them pull away from you, because they have to pull away from you, you know. And it sounds really weird, and I think I may have mentioned this before, maybe not. But my daughter, very young, I think she was only about 9 or something. She just sat down whimsically one day. I think she was sitting on the stairs and went, "Oh, isn't it a shame, Mummy? I'm only going to know you half my life." And I'm like, "Oh, you've worked that out already?" She goes, "Oh, yeah, I realise the second half I'm going to be by myself, but it's okay." And then she said, in fact, she might have even been younger, because she said something like, "But I think what's going to happen is you're going to be in a field as a pony, and I join you later when I'm ready to be a pony. And in the meantime, I'm going to be a foal." And I was like, I asked her, "Are you talking about heaven?" And she's like, "Yeah, that's what heaven is. You're in a field as a pony." And I'm like, where did this come from? How did you know to be this profound? But it's true in it. And I think do you know, people in their 40s who lose a parent, it's almost like it comes as a massive surprise that they've got their second half to go, if they're lucky enough to have the same time after their 40s as they've had before, that's going to have to be on their own and with responsibility for others, that they can't go to their parent to and say, "Can you help me with this? I need you." And I think that's the tectonic plate shift that people go through when they lose a parent. And until you lose one, and Lindsay, I know you can probably cognitively talk about it and you have all the technical expertise, but I don't think anyone can predict how they're actually going to feel. Doesn't matter how old they are. when their own parent leaves this planet, and that disappearance and goneness is so palpable. So there's no preparation really, but there kind of is as well, that kind of knowing that it's coming. Do a little bit of, I don't know, prepping somehow, but knowing that you don't know how you're going to be. But no, I love that. I love the fact she's made top spot. She's probably going to listen now and go, "Thank you for that, Lindsay." Would she be pleased?
I think she'll be extremely pleased.
Oh, Lindsay talking about her mummy. That gives me all, I don't know, just warm vibes. All right, last we've got Mark Massett. I love Mark. You must check him out. He's so funny. And he's absolutely smashing it at the moment. He has all these kind of like parody characters, which he kind of blends modern tunes with. And it's a bit of a send-up of us all, really, because you can recognise any part of ourselves in it. And I think that's what makes it so relatable and funny. So please check him out generally. But what I loved with his first choice is he chose his English teacher. And teachers do pop up a lot in this series. I mean, it's kind of interesting, isn't it? Somebody that's there to perform a job. Some just show up, get the paycheck. But occasionally you get one that really, really impacts you. And Mrs. Delfino, as you'll come to hear, is just one such teacher. And what I love about how Mark celebrates her is not just that she, I don't know, saw him, he felt some sort of connection. But there's a story in there about not accepting, poor behavior in others. And I think as a kind of lesson for his young self, it's kind of carried all the way through his life. So, the impact of teachers and Mrs. Delfino in particular. So enjoy this one. Who's number one?
Okay, well, no particular order.
Okay.
I would say my first one is my English teacher from secondary school. She was called Mrs. Delfino, and she taught me English literature from year 9 upwards. I think it was year 9 or year 10. It's when you start getting separated into sections, or 1, 2, 3, and I was middle for most. And the reason why I chose her was because as a teenager, I felt like she was the first person to speak to me like an adult, to treat me in school as an adult, but didn't pinpoint me out. She spoke to the whole class. And I think the first thing I noticed was, before she taught us anything, she just said, right, just so you know, this is my classroom. If you want to learn something, sit and listen. I can make it easy for you, and we can have a good time. But if you want to be disruptive, you're going to be out every time, and I will win.
Oh, I love that last line. I will win.
I will win. And she goes, "You're not going to win with me." And it was that, maybe not word for word. And I thought, my ears pinged that. And I was like, oh, okay. Because you can either resist or you could go with it. And at that time, I was like, no, she really spoke to me there. And she didn't speak to me. She spoke to everybody.
But there's a commitment there. It's like, I am here to teach you something. I'm going to make you, you're going to come out the better for it. I find that teachers, particularly from a certain era, they can't be bothered.
No.
I remember my education, 70s and 80s, it was like, learn, don't learn, I don't care. Whereas what she's saying is, I am really, if you want to learn from me, you will. But if you mess me around, you're out of this class. So I take that as like a big commitment from her, that she's going to get through to you guys. So tell me more. So
it was very confidently put.
Yeah.
And during that time, when you've got some really crap teachers, I have to say, you had some good ones, but they just did not care.
Yeah.
And they couldn't really give a toss whether you learn anything or not. There's your book. There's your, do not talk. But the confidence in it was, she backed it up, basically. She read books with us, and she taught us a lot. And I think she knew she really knew when I had a passion. And that was something that I was looking for in life, I think. At that time, you're that changing your, you're looking to be an adult. You're not an adult. People don't treat you like one. You're not a child,
Yeah.
like that. So it's like, it's very confusing time. And then when this one person says, focus on me and I'll teach you something, it's a big thing.
Did it make you try harder?
I look forward to the class. I was never an English literature. I didn't care about English, but I looked forward to her classes.
Yeah.
I tried to be invisible so that I didn't cross her, because that kind of like, I don't want to be pinpointed for being disruptive, because there were classes where I was a little bit mouthy, and for her, I was like, no, I want to be. Just want to go in there and hopefully I'll do the right thing. And I was worried that confidence would backfire. Well, sorry, not backfire. Be the same if you got it wrong. I was afraid that she would make a show of me.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? When someone's like quite stern,
Yeah.
I was like, could that go the other way? So I just sat and listened. But she was the best teacher ever. There's something to be said about someone who speaks to you with respect as a teenager. It really does set a tone.
Yeah, but she's asking for respect back, and I think there's something about safety in that.
Oh, perfect way to put it.
Yeah.
That was, I think you've hit the nail. That was the safest I felt with a person.
Yeah.
That was teaching me. Because I told you, like, you don't want to be the center of attention for the wrong thing.
Yeah.
By the wrong person.
Yeah.
But there was a safety in that, and I never feared going into her class.
Yeah.
I never ever feared it.
Yeah, it's interesting when you think about. I was a bit of a. I mean, it's sort of fairly established now that I had a very interesting relationship with school. It was nice. I went there for the lunches and to see my friends, and occasionally dropped into a class to see what was going on. But I didn't really have any sort of structured education, and but there were definitely teachers that made me want to be better for them. And there were definitely teachers I played up with. And I think it was about respect from my side too. If I respected the teacher, I prepared, I turned up, I wanted to learn, and I did my best, whatever I could offer at the time.
Yeah.
But if I had a sniff of them being phony in any way, I mean, I remember being really, I am a musician. I went on to leave school and do all kinds. And created a pretty decent career for myself in various things. But it was when I was a kid, I was really good I was a really great singer. I mean, for a kid,
Yeah.
and I was always playing the lead of the school sort of performances. When they used to put you in a coach and drive you off somewhere, and you go and perform Joseph and his amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, I was always Joseph. I was that person.
Yeah.
And yet my music teacher didn't like me and I didn't like her. And there was something phony about her. I knew she didn't really love music. I knew she just did it for the paycheck. And it bothered me.
It's so interesting.
It bothered me. And I played up because I just knew it.
Yeah.
So, can you relate to that?
I can relate to that. I think that is very true to who you are now.
Yeah.
There's like an intuitive, this intuition there where you're thinking, well, there's something you're not.
Yeah, you're off.
Giving me. Yeah. And I feel like you're not being completely honest. Yeah. And when you're in school and you are talented and you have a certain amount of attention, you do get jealousy from teachers, I guess.
Yeah.
They don't really want you to. Oh,
you've got off, Mark.
Oh, it says hand gestures use it. I'm sorry.
Oh, there it is.
Still there. I think I'm using too much of my hand gestures. Sorry. It does cause a little bit of friction between you and the teacher. Yeah. There might be a bit of jealousy. I don't know what it is, but it does. That it's not a one-way thing. You react, like you were just saying, to them because you're a teenager for one, and you want to be taught. If someone's not going to do their job, a kid will just tell you what's what, won't they?
Yeah. Well, we haven't grown our kind of, I don't know, bullshit guards till we're older. So you just get it raw. You just get
Yeah.
you just get what we actually feel and think in the moment. And the wrong
Yeah.
kind of teacher can't handle it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because they're there to keep you in check, to keep to delegate, to rule. And I don't know if you're like this now, but I do have a problem with people telling me what to do. I think everyone does,
Yeah.
but I think I push a little bit harder if I don't like the direction that they're pushing me in.
I'm the same. You're right. We don't change much as we get older. We get a bit wilier.
Mm.
But I'm the same now. I only really take direction from people I respect. If I respect you, I will follow your lead 100%. I'm very good like that. If I really like you and respect you, and I've had some wonderful bosses, and I'm very fortunate. In my current job, I've got people, the smartest people I've ever met.
Yeah.
And I love working with them because I learn something every time I speak to them.
Yeah.
And I'm very well managed. And, it's also knowing that person in front of you. I say well managed. I think I'm a bit unmanageable, Mark, to be honest, but not in a bad way. I don't know if you can relate to this too. It's like, just give me the kind of direction of travel and I'll deliver. But don't get too, I like my agency. I like my ability to express myself. And I imagine you're the same, especially with the sort of creative output that you have. I think you need to have that autonomy to better express yourself how you want to.
Yeah, I'm very much the same. I think it's I've been told I can be difficult at times, but I don't think I'm unreasonable. When someone is giving me a bit of information, I don't take it firsthand. I want to know, where did you get the information from?
Yeah.
And why are you trying to make me believe it?
What's behind it?
Yeah. Oh, why are you telling me what to do when it's not your job?
Yeah. No, I don't know. But we're definitely on the same page about that. Oh, good. Well, do you know, I love it when teachers are honoured. There have been other people who've talked about their teachers, and I think that's right. And I think I'd wish I could, I don't know, somehow go back to mine, the ones that were great, and if they're still alive, say, I've really, really appreciated you.
I would love to do that.
Yeah, is she still going then? Do we know?
I have no idea. I left school and never looked back.
Yeah.
But she had a way of explaining all the books. We learned Kestrel for a Knave, To Kill a Mockingbird, Animal Farm, and she explained everything in depth about how it relates to life. And I think I listened to her and I really did take a lot. I mean, the way she explained Animal Farm to me and To Kill a Mockingbird, I've taken that with everything.
Yeah. Well, there's so much message behind those books.
Yeah.
You can read any book on a surface level, can't you? You just read it, read the words and go, nice words. But if you want to get behind the meaning, that's takes something else.
She stamped it into us.
Yeah.
She was married to an Italian man and she was talking about the racism in To Kill a Mockingbird. And she said, she closed the book and she was like, do not ever let anyone make a remark to you and get away with it. Because a guy said she was in an interview. I'll never forget this. She was in an interview and she just come back from maternity leave. And she said, she had a baby. And the guy said to her, oh, because he was an Italian, the Italian baby. And she's like, is there another one for the ice cream cart? And she said, I laughed in nerve. And she said, I regret that to this day.
Yeah.
We're a bunch of kids. And we were just like, okay, and she felt it. And she said to us, don't ever sit there and take something if you don't agree with it. I just sat there, you're a kid and you're thinking, my God, what's going on? We've been looking at each other. And I was like, and I'll never forget that day.
Oh, you haven't. Clearly you haven't, because you're talking about it like it was yesterday. And that,
and I'll never forget. It might be not for word, but I think that's the meaning. It hit me. So there's something to be said about a good teacher, and I really would love to, if she's still alive. I don't know.
All right. Well, anybody knows Mrs. Delfino? Do you remember the school name at least? Do you remember that?
Stratford High at the time.
Okay.
But it was it's changed now to something else.
All right. Anyone listening? There's a task. Mrs. Delfino, please. Wonderful. Thank you for that, Mark. So that's the last of the 5 with Mark. Yeah, as I say, go check him out. I think he's fabulous. And talking of fabulous, I am so looking forward to season 3. Season 3, I don't know. I am very fond of everybody and every season I've done so far. But there's always a bit of a frisson when you know that new ones are coming. And as I'm kind of getting into my sort of podcasting stride, shall we say, I'm learning a lot about, just how to kind of bring out the best in everybody and to bring out the stories. I think it's the stories I'm really keen to get to. And there's plenty of that in season 3. A real mix of people. I'm really starting to piece together some themes. There's definitely some recurring themes on who people choose to honour. And just very excited about it. Anyway, it's coming out on September the 9th. Next week, I'm going to do like a little prequel for you. I'm going to do like a little sample of what's to come. And then, as I say, season 3 kicks off officially on the 9th of September, and I can't wait. Until then, take care. Have a good week ahead. See you next time. Bye now. Bye.